So this has been an ongoing topic of conversation in a lot of circles of people misusing cannabis and suffering the consequences of said misuse. And I'm going to talk to you guys about why judging every cannabis user is not okay. It's not okay for you guys to judge everyone as if everyone was the same. It's like saying all opioid users are drug addicts, and that is not fact. That that idea has made it impossible for pain relief to happen for chronically ill people. So let's talk about the overuse and misuse of cannabis. Yes, I know my eyes are black from my migraines. I know I get black eyes from migraines. Bear with me because this is going to be quick. So, I've had a lot of people judge me because they say that my health conditions are being caused by the cannabis use and blah, blah, blah. Let's just talk about the medications that were prescribed by doctors that caused terrible symptoms similar to what people are claiming that cannabis use causes in everybody. And I want to remind you that every single human body is different. So judging every book by one cover is really stupid. And pretending like people don't need some form of relief or their symptoms are going to be out of control and possibly kill them is astonishing, because I've passed out from the pain so many times in the last year from trying not to use my medicines because of the stigma, not only in society but also from my dumbass doctors. So let's talk about medications that they prescribed that did what they're claiming these medications did. So I was put on a medication called prednisone when I first got diagnosed with kidney disease, and it was high dose prednisone, so it was 120 milligrams every other day for almost 2 years. And I started having more meltdowns. I used to have meltdowns as a child, but and as a teenager, but these were such severe meltdowns that I couldn't be around people without getting judged for anger management problems because of the physical pain and anxiety that that amount of prednisone causes in the body. So those rage attacks were steroid attacks. Let's talk about Reglan and Zofran. I believe I never had a reaction to Zofran, but it did cause cloudiness in my mind. And Reglan, long-term Reglan use, because they had me on Reglan for several years, caused it caused a lot of issues with my body and my mind that I haven't had since stopping that medication, including a bout of tardive dyskinesia when I was given tramadol and Reglan in Mexico, and it didn't go well with the medications I was taking, because despite giving them the list of American medications I was on, obviously they thought that it would be okay, and I was having what my family called overdosing and that I was causing it myself. Cool. I was prescribed those medications, but thank you. I totally caused a drug overdose that caused tardive dyskinesia that almost broke my jaw and left me crippled while you guys got mad at me for my vacation. And that's just a trauma added because of the medication, because that specific event caused me to not want to take medication anymore. And that was from Reglan and tramadol. Flexeril caused me to zone out to the point after a car accident that I lost my job in retail, the 2-hour job that I had just to keep myself busy. And that was Flexeril. That wasn't for muscle relaxant. I could go down this list. Um, gabapentin, which caused people to think that I was having memory problems, but it didn't. It wasn't me having memory problems. A lot of those memory problems went away when gabapentin went away. But I still don't have my functional memory back, but that was always... That's a whole nother book. Psychosis was caused in me by an interaction of the medications that I was taking and my attempted suicides with drugs and other medications, swallowing a shit ton of medication that caused medical psychosis, like medicine induced psychosis is what I can't remember. I think that's the terminology they try to use to explain it to me. But it's very frustrating because I've tried everything for my migraines. I have been in and out of the hospital for my goddamn migraines. And now I'm being told, and I already knew this, but now that it's being confirmed, that a lot of the dysautonomic effect that I'm having, including the gut issues, are because these migraines are permanent now. The vision impairments are from these migraines that I've been having since I was a little girl. The joint issues, the dislocating, the falls got worse as the migraines got worse. And maybe, sure, I would have never developed issues with my musculoskeletal system if I wasn't in constant migraine every day, because I've had this constant aura in my eye for years. But they have not been able to find anything that works. So I take CBD and mixtures of CBD with THC and other herbs to try to help. But still, I don't have a real functional treatment. Magnesium reduces the muscle spasms and reduces the neck pain and reduces a lot of the sensations in my body that come with migraine. It doesn't necessarily take the migraine away, but it reduces the sensory sensations that I feel in the overload. But I keep getting told that that's not a treatment by ignorant doctors that want to hear it from a neurologist. And neurologists who want to try all their new medications, but they don't realize that some people have had a lot of reactions. And I can't remember all of the reactions. I remember there was a depression medication called, like, I think it was called Paxil. And that one, it wasn't, people thought I was manic. And then they gave me something called Wellbutrin. And it made me into a zombie. During the day, it made me into a zombie. Yes, I could hyper focus on my work, which was at the office, which kept me working at the office for a couple more years. But then they gave me Seroquel, which had me sleepwalking. Wellbutrin had me daydreaming, and Seroquel had me sleepwalking, sleep cooking, all this weird stuff. Paxil too. Paxil used to make me talk a lot in my sleep and do weird shit in my sleep. So I was always getting accused of doing shit that I wasn't doing by my ex and my family. My family knew about my sleepwalking issues, by the way. And this is what I mean. Like, all of this misinformation out there really makes it impossible for people to get what they need. Because you're judging marijuana instead of studying it. You're judging cannabis instead of studying it. And some of us have tried all your chemical compositions and have been harmed by them. Because even chemotherapy, like cyclophosphamide, made my whole nervous system go into, like, it was on fire. Like, my whole body was on fire. And to be told that these are just migraines and dehydration, it's like, I know. It's why I used to get fast-tracked in the ER for IV fluids, and now your fucking doctors and nurses make it impossible to even ask for that because they automatically assume if you're telling them you're in pain, you're asking for pain medication when you're not. Let me finish my goddamn sentence and give me what I fucking need so that I'm not afraid to go to the urgent care and ER when all I need is hydration so that it won't trigger severe dysautonomia and migraine issues with the side effects that come with migraine. And don't even get me started with not being able to absorb nutrition or having diabetic issues with normal A1C because of all of this. Because there's they keep giving me medications and they make the problem worse because it's not that kind of medication, but they're like, well, why would your CBD medication work? Because it's also working on the nervous system. It's not just working on what's going on in the pancreas and in the gut. It's also working on the nervous system. So I found everything to be able to be okay. And still I'm treated like I'm not doing enough by doctors and by people in society and in these support systems and groups. So you guys keep talking about cannabis, but for some of us, cannabis saved our life because nothing takes the pain away. Cannabis makes us able to do things like making my pretty art. I still can't be out in the world because it's too loud, it's too smelly, it's too bright, but I've learned to live. And when you guys sit there talking about cannabis in this way, not only do you have employers and society misjudging us because we smell, apparently, and we're nose blind to the smell. I used to hate the smell of marijuana. Now I'm nose blind by it because I need it. Because I couldn't even hold my neck up when my sister brought CBD for me. Because I couldn't even stand anymore without falling. And every time I'd lean forward, liquid would come out of my nose, and doctors were not trying to figure out. They kept insisting that it was the medications I was on, so I detoxed myself. I'm not on those medications anymore, and I still have all of these problems. Every single misjudgment, every single fucked up note that doctors put in there because of my use of marijuana in the past 6 years or so, because I haven't even been using it that long. I waited till it was legal because of doctors, because of their misinformation. And also because they wanted to continue to experiment. I get it that you're trying to find functional treatments, but you're torturing us and taking our quality of life. Yes, some people develop psychosis from cannabis, like any other medicine when it is misused or the wrong person takes it. Not all medicine is for everybody, but neither are pharmaceuticals. And if you're going to make these videos talking about the psychosis marijuana causes, things like that, I saw a couple people who are conscious about them. They're like, well, yeah, some people do have this. That doesn't mean that everybody has it. Stop blaming the medicine for the choices that people make. Because I was seen as drug seeking when I couldn't find pain medication that would help. Because doctors wouldn't listen. Because they wouldn't listen, and instead of helping my pain, they kept taking options away. Options as simple as IV hydration and IV magnesium, because I don't absorb nutrients when I get to this point. I can't even eat without vomiting the last couple of days, and that is so frustrating because I'm having one protein meal a day. By reducing the vomiting in the morning by drinking my mushroom protein shakes and the other shakes and then throwing them up. But if I don't at least try, then I only have that one protein meal, if that. because I can eat something solid towards the end of the day. And that's just with migraines. That's just with migraines. That's not including all of the comorbidities. You don't get to judge how a person is handling their life when you have no idea what's going on. We have a lot of people who get better and feel like because they got better, everyone must get better, or they're not doing the work to get better because they're not improving. But chronic illness, we have a lot of ignorance around chronic illness. We have a lot of people overusing the word ableism, but we also have a lot of people misusing disability. We also have people who systems that refuse support until a person is literally giving up, and that's not okay. That's not okay. Until our system takes profit out of healthcare, we're not going to see improvement in this. So when you talk about medications that have caused extreme issues in people, such as cannabis use, you also got to talk about all of the other medications that can cause similar issues. Because essentially, you're taking away options from ignorant people who may believe that a person getting loopy when they're on medications somehow means that they're on the wrong medications. Unfortunately, yes, when you've been in pain for such a long time and you're on that much medications, it doesn't matter what you're on. It doesn't matter if you're on cannabis or the cocktail of medications that they'll give you, including depression and anxiety medication, to avoid giving you pain medication. You will become loopy. You will not be yourself. You will not feel like yourself. And the judgment of others is going to make you want to die. All of these videos we're doing are irresponsible at best because they're small clips of a couple minutes because you guys need to keep people's attention span. People are making money off of that, trying to sell people stuff for ADHD, for pain, for autism, for, anxiety, for blah, 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 blah. People are going to use those videos by only using the small clip that you mentioned that fits them. And I've discussed this in other videos and other variations. I'm breaking it down right now because I have a little more mental clarity. I've done it too, where I only use a small clip, and that's why I don't use people's videos anymore, because they think that that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to show you that this is what you guys are doing. You guys are reacting, and as the mode of attention or whatever's in the scope changes, that's what you guys are reacting to. So all of our videos online are very reactive instead of informative. And there's a couple content creators that I love because they're informative, but some people are just literally fucking with people out there. Stop assuming people's cannabis use, because if you're a doctor or a nurse, you guys don't get to play the social media game like everybody else does. You guys got to stop playing the social media game of watching people on social media and then pretending like you know what they need to be on or need to be diagnosed with. You need to stop this. It's irresponsible and it's unhealthy for people. Now, secondly, as a nurse or a doctor, your biases, oh, but we can't recommend that. You can recommend that. You can mention that it's an option. It doesn't mean that mentioning that something is an option, like cannabis, is not the same as recommending cannabis. Mentioning that it's a legal option, and also medically approved option that you can actually go to and get your medical license and actually ask these people questions, because I've done it in the past, but I renewed it this year so that I can be on top of the ever-changing effects in my body, because they kept blaming it on that, my pot symptoms on that, but I've had them long before that. You are not recommending it by mentioning that it exists. Cannabis would have been a game changer if you guys would have started with cannabis and not all of these chemical interventions for my body. For my body. I'm not saying for everybody else's body, for my body. If you would have started with things like cannabis, arnica, lavender, things like that, those softer variations of natural medications would have been less damaging to my body's ability to register pain. And maybe it would have been different. However, because I've been through so much trauma, maybe it wouldn't have made a difference which order we did anything on. So me saying that is a similar assumption to you guys assuming that my cannabis use is what's doing all and creating all of the problems in my body when they have been well recorded long, long. It took almost a decade for my sister to convince me to sit with cannabis and use it as medicine. You guys need to understand that we can make assumptions and point fingers at stuff on both sides. On both sides. We can pretend like we understand what's happening in a person's body. But if we take the person out of the conversation, then you're not trying to understand the person. You are trying to fix a problem without understanding it. And the solution may fit the problem if it was your body, but the solutions don't necessarily fit your patient's body. That's why you guys don't get to play the social media game where you see what people are talking about online and you want to chime in on that with little tidbits. Little tidbits are not helpful. These children are not doing by that. By keeping us ill-informed when we go to appointments, by minimize how much information you think we can handle, you actually make the problem worse. Because if you gave us all the information, yes, we might break down, we might cry, we might have a moment of emotion that is natural to finding out terrible information. However, we will learn to cope with it. By lying to us and not giving us all the information and gaslighting us when we go to medical appointments because you honestly have an idea but you're not sure yet, all of that gaslighting leads to people trying to figure things out on their own, which is great. Do your research, learn about your conditions and all that good stuff. However, knowing about your conditions, knowing all your symptoms, taking all that research into doctor's appointments is not going to guarantee that you're not met with that when you go to the doctor's appointments because of their own biases, because we're all human. So really, where do we fix this? We fix it in the school. We stop teaching kids, doctors, future doctors, nurses, and caregivers that pain relief is a problem. We stop teaching them that cannabis on its own is a problem. We stop teaching them that opioids are a problem because they are not. Not for the chronically ill, it's their life. We stop acting like alternative medicines are woo-woo or a problem because your Western medicines have not been able to fix this because it needs a multi-thing. Because this, getting black eyes from migraines, that's not normal. It's not normal. But it happens to me regularly, a couple times a month. And I was like, oh, but you're just getting dark circles under your eyes. I wish they were just dark circles. I wish it didn't hurt right here when I touch it because it is officially bruised. I wish that I wasn't getting random bruises. Where is it? From veins popping and shit like that. I wish that that burning sensation wasn't randomly all over my body when the veins are bursting in random parts of my body. But that's what I live with every day. And I have to pretend I'm not in pain because my pain isn't being treated. And I'm being judged for treating my own pain with cannabis because they think that my spirituality is spiritual psychosis. And not they by the doctors. This is society. Society thinks it's spiritual psychosis, but you don't know the level of magical thinking that you need to be able to placebo effect yourself through white knuckling, severe pain, anxiety, ADHD, and autism symptoms, and MCAS symptoms, because those really suck in my gut and in my joints. Fibromyalgia symptoms. The list goes on. And you still want this smile on my face. You still want me to be functional enough without being whimsical. I gotta believe there's magic out there. Because at least when I believe in magic, it doesn't hurt as bad. And maybe it is a delusion to use that as a pain relief, but after you've tried everything else, who the fuck are you to judge? Who the fuck are you to judge a person for trying and creating magic from their pain? Not because it has a purpose, because there's no fucking purpose for this other than living in a society that doesn't comprehend or accommodate individuals like me. It's real. The question is real. Who the fuck do you think you are? So, medical professionals and society alike, y'all need to stop making this video. Cannabis is not the demon that you think. The chemicals we pour into it and the chemicals in pharmaceuticals are essentially what our body is reacting to. And unfortunately, some bodies are more reactive than others, especially those with EDS or even any other autoimmune disorder, because even when it was just my kidney disease, I was still I used to just call it my extreme inflammatory response, because even a slight little tap on my skin would cause inflammation. And my family just thinks it's normal because most of the women in my family have these issues. The men kind of do sometimes, but not as bad as the women in my family. So keep that in mind, because a lot of these conditions are exacerbated by stress and life. And life is life, and stress is happening. So do what you got to do, and don't let people and their judgments get to you, because they still get to me when I'm out and about and people assume that I'm smoking to get high. I wish I got high like you guys did. I wish I had that euphoric effect. I wish I was like everybody else. But it used to take a full bottle of tequila just so I'd get drunk. And I still needed a lot more if I wanted to get blackout drunk so that I could sleep. So just keep that in mind. Not all bodies are the same. And when you're in excruciating pain, sometimes there is no pain relief. There's pain minimization. But when your body's been in pain that long and all it knows is pain, I think that eventually it forgets what it feels like to not be in pain. So it normalizes the pain as much as we normalize keeping chronically ill people in pain. Just my take on that from my experience. And yes, there's a lot more medications that I have had reactions to, but I was just trying to talk about the mental health reactions that I've had to medications, that once those medications were taken away, I stopped having those responses and reactions. So no, it's not spiritual psychosis. I'm not psychotic. Yes, I have magical thinking, but I need it to stay alive, and you guys can fuck off, because essentially that's a better pain medication than any of this shit. And yes, does that make me delusional in a way? Yeah, it does. But I used to disassociate from the pain, which made people think I had mental health problems. Daydreaming all the time, which made people think I had mental health problems. And again, yes, I was going through a lot of trauma. However, a lot of the trauma happened, one, because I remained undiagnosed and untreated for the physical problems I was having, but two, because the misjudgment of doctors gave my family misinformation that they later used to accuse and demonize me the same way that the medical system had. So I stopped trusting everybody. But that's an adult age. It took decades to get to that point. It took a lot of different experiences. And I think that what harms us the most in all of these movements is the misinformation or the limited information. That people will just take what they want from that biases because we keep making these shorter and shorter videos, and they're not getting the full picture because they don't actually want to do the research on what those conditions cause. They just want whatever biases they're looking for to fit their narrative. But some of us have been fighting for decades for these diagnoses, unlike the movement that some, like I've been told by friends that some people are taking advantage of these movements, and it makes me sad because of you dumb motherfuckers. A lot of us are still not getting the medical care that we need. So just keep that in mind. I love you and have a beautiful day. Cannabis is not a demon, and neither are pharmaceuticals. They're all, like I said, some people benefit from the pharmaceuticals, some do not. And some of us did try all the pharmaceuticals. I promise you. I promise you. And some of us are incredibly scared of trying any more pharmaceuticals. I promise you about that. So just keep that in mind. I love you and have a beautiful day.